Hi everyone and welcome to your Yin class here today. My name is Sarah and I'll be guiding you through your class. So this class has been designed to offer a little bit of everything for the body. So a little bit for the shoulders, a little bit for the wrists, the hips, the toes. So yeah, we'll get into it piece by piece. Within Yin, if you've not practiced Yin before, we have quite a lot of space and time in each pose. Sometimes we can hold for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But in essence, this is the purpose of Yin. So it allows us space to get into any blockages energetic wise, and it just creates that space. So yeah, there's a lot of stillness and finding our edges within our body. So it's quite layered, and it can be quite proppy. So I love to use props in Yin. So feel free to, if you've got a blanket, get a blanket, lay it out. I like putting socks on, a cozy jumper, some nice loose trousers, because we're not going to be moving fast. It's very slow paced movement. We'll be working using a bolster today, and we've got blocks as well if we need them. If you don't have these props at home, you can always use a pillow from the sofa, or a rolled up towel of some sort, just to help kind of elevate us and prop us up in certain positions. So when you are ready, we're going to begin today seated, and we're going to take a seat on a bolster. So you can either come to find the seat cross-legged, or you can sit over the tops of the heels if that feels more comfortable for you. So when you've found your seat, there's no rush, take your time to make your way there. And then come to close down the eyes or take a soft gaze out in front of you. Palms can be on the thighs or away from the body. They can face up or down. Down is to ground, up is to receive. And then just take a moment here in your seat, in your position that you've chose to take to begin your practice. And take a moment to maybe set an intention for your class here today, or maybe for your weekend or your week ahead. And what do you desire for yourself at current? What is an intention that you could bring to your mind's eye that you want to cultivate more for yourself? Maybe taking a moment here to even visualize what that intention might look like. And what it can offer you. And then bring some awareness to your seat, to your sit bones, and to your spine. Can you find a little bit more length in your spine? Imagine there is a string gently attached to the crown of your head, which is gently guiding you up to the ceiling and creating space between the spine, the pieces between the vertebrae, space in the neck, softening the shoulders down, space between the rib cage, the pieces of the ribs. As you breathe, the ribs expand outwards and draw inwards. Can you visualize this space in the body? Notice any other areas in the body that you're noticing space, maybe between the hips and the rib cage. And then come to bring your awareness to the breath. Not forcing anything or changing anything, just observing the breath as it flows in and out. Staying with this focus, if the mind does wander, it's perfectly natural. Just gently and kindly bring it back to the breath, to the awareness as it flows in and out. And then maybe gently acknowledge where the breath is within the body, knowing there is no right or wrong at this moment in time. We're just acknowledging where the breath is. Maybe you notice the breath in the abdomen, the rib cage, the chest, as the air comes in and out through the nostrils. And just focusing your attention on this space. And once again, not changing anything, just observing the breath, where it's positioned in the body as it flows in and out. And then maybe notice where you're breathing from. Do you breathe in through the mouth or in through the nose? And do you exhale out through the mouth or through the nose? And just noticing your means of breath and how you take oxygen in and out. Maybe noticing any subtle pauses, or the length of your inhale versus your exhale. Is one longer or shorter than the other? And just noticing and observing. And coming inside the experience of our breath. Beautiful. And then taking the hands to the outside of the hips, palms facing outwards. On your next inhale in, if it's there for you, taking this in through the nose, draw the hands above the head, palms might meet as you draw them through heart center, exhale out through the nose if it is there for you. Take 2 more slow rounds like so with your own breath, connecting breath to movement. Inhale up. Exhale down, circling the arms up and round. 1 more round. Beautiful. When you've taken your final round, blinking the eyes open gently if you've closed them down, and then coming off any props that you might be sitting on. Coming to take the bolster or the prop off to one side, but keeping it close by. We're coming to find Balasana, child's pose. So take the knees out as wide as the mat, or as feels comfortable for your hip alignment. You can always use the bolster here. You can bring it in between the space between the hips. You can have it flat, or you can always incorporate blocks underneath, bringing it onto a higher setting. And then slowly, when you feel ready, start to walk yourself towards the bolster. So you might be using a bolster, you might not. But there's multiple layers and options. As I say, you can either use the bolster, or you can come to use a couple of blocks, maybe 1 or 2. And then you might like to either come to turn the cheek to face the right or the left. And we're going to spend a few moments here. I will tell you when to turn the cheek if you've got your head turned to one side. So when you come to settle into your postures, just noticing any areas that you might want to shuffle around in and settle in a bit more, and taking those moments, coming in to settle in. And noticing any sensations that arise. And if you're not feeling any sensations, maybe exploring a little bit deeper once you have settled. And that might mean potentially moving some props out of the way. Within our yin practice, it can be a time of quietness and stillness. It does not mean necessarily that the mind is quiet and still. This can be sometimes for some quite a hard thing to achieve. So if you are looking for a more meditative yin practice and your mind can be quite active, something that I learned from Tara Brach, a beautiful meditation teacher, is when your mind is wandering and you're thinking about something, use an anchor word. So for example, the word that I use when I listen to her meditation is thinking. And I come back to that word whenever my mind is wandering, and it brings me back to the moment, back to this presence, and back to this experience that I'm in right here. It can take a bit of practice and a bit of training. But with time, you can cultivate this space for yourself to work towards easing the fluctuations of the mind. And some days it will be easier than others. Taking one more round of breath on the side that you're on before coming to turn the head to face the other way. If you're noticing here in your child's pose that you're not receiving much sensation through the hips or through the shoulders, maybe you remove any props out of the way and come to find a little bit more depth in your child's pose. I'm going to be here for another 3 rounds of breath. Slow, gentle breaths. So as I began the practice by saying, yin is a slow practice. So everything we cultivate within our practice in yin, we want to make as slow and as gentle as possible. And that includes coming out of our postures as well. So when you work towards coming out of a pose, know that we're coming out of it slowly, softly and gently. And when you've done your final round of breath in your child's pose, if you've got the head turned to the opposite side of what you was working towards, bring the forehead down to the left. Take a round of breath here. And then lift the forehead, push into the hands, slowly and gently start to walk the hands back towards the body. And one by one, draw the knees back in through center. And just taking a moment to readjust here. And coming up to sit over the top of the heels. So we're going to be transitioning our way into melting heart pose next. So a couple of variations as always. So you can always utilize blocks to place the hands on. You can also place the hands on a bolster if you prefer. It doesn't necessarily have to be blocks, or you can utilize without the blocks. So I generally like to work my way into using props. So I start first without props and then I add props in to see if I want to layer and go deeper. So coming to find your way into tabletop to begin with. So the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips or thereabouts. And then keeping the knees where they are and the hips stacked over the knees, slowly start to walk the hands away from you. And then when you've got the hands away from you enough that the chest can come through ever so slightly, we're going to bring the forehead down to the earth. If the forehead doesn't quite meet it, you can bring the forehead down to a block. But essentially we're directing the chest, the heart down towards the earth. If you notice straight away that that's quite a lot through the shoulders, take the hands wider. Create more space for the shoulders. And then come to settle in. And come to find some stillness here. Breathing into the space. And breathing into each part that you might feel that there is some sensation. And if you're not feeling enough sensation, maybe you come up, place the hands on some blocks or maybe onto a bolster, and you come back in and find your depth and your range. So you're looking to find your edge here. So within Yin Yoga, we're looking to find sensation. We're not necessarily looking to push ourselves beyond our capability. So if you do notice any pain, or you notice certain sensations like a tingling or a numbness, what would be deemed an electrical feeling in the body, like tingling, maybe know that you've gone too far. And come back out, honour the body, and then slowly come back in until you find that sensation, that edge, that enough, that you're creating something within the body but not past its end range. Beautiful work. Taking a few more rounds of breath here. Noticing the subtle openings that the body begins to offer as we spend longer in certain poses. And the body will speak to you if we listen to it. So choosing to observe and not judge can be very important in our Yin practice. Taking one more round of breath where you are. Full conscious inhale and exhale. Very gently and slowly, wherever you are, start to push into the palms to find that sense of engagement to come up to lift. Moving slowly and gently. And then bringing the hands underneath the shoulders. Maybe taking a few side sways from the hips. Maybe you find a round of cat and cow, articulating through the spine, just moving out after that melting heart pose. So within yin, when we come out of poses, sometimes we can often feel a little bit more creaky or a little bit stiff. This is very normal, and this is why we move quite slowly and gently coming out. Beautiful work. Okay. So we're going to next move into our Sphinx pose. So I'll offer some variations here. So just removing the blocks off to one side. Bolster or a pillow nearby is beautiful. And then come to find yourself in tabletop. Walk the knees back and then lower yourself all the way down to the mat. Slowly start to walk the hands forward and then bring the elbow underneath the shoulders and spread through the fingers here. Really spread the fingertips. Pubic bone is in towards the ground. Take the legs and the feet wider than the mat to create space through the low back. If you find that this is too much for you already, walk the hands further forward and keep walking them forward until you feel like that sensation feels good enough for you. So they don't have to be all the way in, but this is our starting point, elbows underneath the shoulders. And like I say, just walk them a bit further away from you, the elbows a bit further away, hands further towards the top of the mat to create that space if needed. Draw the chin in towards the chest, slight tuck under. Maybe even close down the eyes or take a soft gaze. Coming to resolve to remain still here. Now we've been here for some time, noticing the sensations. Have they eased? And if they have, could you go a bit deeper? And if you're looking to go deeper, maybe you are bringing in the bolster. So that would come in place of where the elbows would be. And then placing the elbows onto the bolster. And then coming back to settle in to the stillness here. And if you're still looking for an increase in sensation here, you can always come to find still and bringing the hands in place of where the elbows would be and straighten it out through the arms. The hands can be as wide as the mat. Just taking your variation and your edge, going to your end range. Accepting whatever you discover here and staying curious in the moment. And paying attention to those sensations again. If you're not feeling anything or feeling it, go deeper. If you're feeling too much, come out ever so slightly and come back in. As I say, you want to feel the sensations, but you also want to back away if you're feeling pain. So we are looking to create an experience in the body, an experience of sensation, And so for example, like in Sphinx pose that we're in here now, or seal, we're compressing the spine. And not necessarily is compression in the spine a bad thing. Sometimes the body needs stress or compression, for example, to build strength, to be stronger. As long as it is done in a way that is gentle and not pushing past a boundary. So coming into something softly and slowly and listening. Taking one more round of breath where you are. A nice full inhale and exhale. And then slowly making your way down to the mat, making a little pillow for your head. Hands come in front of you. And then bend through the knees. Take some little windshield wipers side to side, releasing, counteracting that pose ever so slightly. Maybe pausing on each windshield wiper on each side. Beautiful. And extending the legs back behind you, bring the hands beside the rib cage. Very gently push up through tabletop. And work the knees back in towards the center, coming up to find yourself in a seat. So we're coming to sit on the sit bones this time. And extend the legs long. And just incorporating your block if needed. So we're going to bend through the right knee. Take the right foot over the left side of the leg. And then we're going to work towards walking that foot away from us until essentially you're bringing knee to knee alignment. And not necessarily will it reach like mine. My knees are not stacking completely on top of one another because I have very tight hips. So this is where a block can be quite nice. You can always bring the block in underneath the thigh, underneath the knee to support. If it doesn't match, maybe you've got two and you're just allowing the knee to rest on top. And then coming to settle in here to your half shoelace pose on the right side. And we're going to keep our legs like this for a few minutes. We're going to take two different variations of arm postures here. So you can always incorporate a strap for this. So we're coming to find cow face arms on the right side to begin with. So sending the right arm up towards the sky and then the left arm out towards the side. Turn the left palm to face the back of the room and then send the left hand back behind you. So the back of the palm is to the back of the back. And then slowly start to bend through this right elbow, reach the right hand down the back. Now you might slowly walk the hands towards one another, maybe they clasp. If they don't, this is where it's good to have a strap. You can take hold of the strap or you can even take hold of the top that you've got on here. But we're just looking to guide the right elbow up towards the ceiling and the left elbow down towards the earth. And then coming to draw the chin in towards the chest ever so slightly. Coming to settle here. If you're not noticing enough sensation, you can always come to tuck that bottom leg under. So you're taking it, the left leg would come underneath. Or you can even take a subtle lean forward. Once again, coming to Be consciously aware of what are you experiencing. Can you find more depth, or do you need to edge out? Noticing the points that you might want to fidget or move. Maybe that's where you notice that you might have pushed past your edge, or maybe it's just that you are finding more opening where you are. And taking one more round of breath where you are. And then coming to unbind through the arms, extend the arms both out to shoulder height. Really think about flexing the palms, so as if you had two walls either side of you that you was pushing away from you. And then very gently bring the arms out in front of you. Bring the right arm underneath the left and come to interlace the hands. So we're bringing the arms to weave, maybe the palms come to touch, maybe it's back of the palms towards one another for eagle arms. If this is too much, you can also come to give yourself a hug, just bringing the hands round the back of the body. And wherever you are, come to lower the elbows down ever so slightly and then lift them back up. So we're bringing elbows in line with the shoulders. Finding that space in the back of the shoulders, in the back of the mid-body. Slight tuck of the chin under. And just noticing that sensation also in the low body. And checking in with how that feels here. And noticing the edge there. Could you walk that foot a bit further away from you? Creating some more sensation in the outer hip. And then coming to settle. Taking one more round of breath where you are. And then releasing that bind of the arms, stretching the arms out to the edges of the room, flexing the palms as if you was pushing the walls away from you. Remove any props underneath the knee that might be in the way. Take the hands behind you, slightly lean back, very gently guide that leg towards the front of the room. Maybe you bend through the knees and take the feet wider than the mat. Take a few windshield wipers side to side. Coming over to the other side, coming to find your seat, legs extended long. Bending through that left foot, left knee, take the left foot over the right side of the leg. Start to walk that left foot away from the hip, away from you, until you're coming to stack knee to knee. And once again, inviting any props to extra support that leg. And then sending the left arm up towards the ceiling. Take the right arm out towards the right side, palm faces forward. And then turn the right palm to face the back of the room. Come to bring that back of that palm to the back of the back, low back. And then bend through that left elbow, bringing the left palm to the top of the back. Either taking hold of the top, taking hold of a strap, or maybe you're taking hold of the fingers. And just making any awareness around maybe this side feeling different to the other. Maybe the sensations are completely different on this side. Maybe that means you change how you come into this posture on this side. If you're noticing that having that top arm is too much for you, just maintaining that right arm tucked behind the back here. You can always lower that top arm. And once again, noticing the sensations in the body. Wait for the opening, be patient with the body, and then go deeper if the offering is there. And take in 2 more rounds of breath where you are. Beautiful, releasing the arms, sending them out to the edges of the room. Really push those imaginary walls away from you. Bring the arms out in front of you. Left arm comes under the right this time. Weave the arms together, interlace the hands. Palms might meet or the back of the palms might meet. Lift the shoulders up. Lift the elbows in line with the shoulders. Separate the shoulder blades. If this is too much, once again, you can come to hug yourself with the arms. Bringing the hands to the shoulders, shoulder blades. And then come to resolve to remain still when you've found your chosen setup with your eagle arms. And focus the mind. Anchor it in the present. And if you find certain emotions arise like frustration because the mind wants to wander, this is perfectly natural. And just gently guide it back. And if it doesn't want to, this is also natural. The mind often can fight us when we try to force it into other things and it doesn't want to. Sometimes just allow it to be as it is, and try not to attach any judgment to this experience. Just observe and be curious with the body and the mind. Release the mind and send the hands out towards the edges of the room. Push those imaginary walls away from you. Bring the hands back behind you. Remove any props out of the way. Slightly lean back as you extend very slowly that left leg long. Take the bend through the knees. Take the knees towards the edges of the mat and release through some little windshield wipers here if that's calling to you. Beautiful. And slowly we're going to come to find our figure 4 pose next. So starting with the knees bent, walk the feet away from you quite a bit to begin with, and then a slight lean back. Come to flex through the right foot and then take the right ankle across the top of the left thigh. Plant the left foot on towards the earth and then slowly start to bring the hips, scoot the hips slightly forward. Position the palms whatever way they want to go. So fingertips can face the back of the mat, the side or the edges or the front of the mat. And you want to think about sending the knee towards the front of the room of the right leg. So if this is not creating enough sensation, just keep creeping the hips forward and more forward until you're essentially bringing the glutes towards the heel of the left foot. If this is too much, walk the foot away from you. Create space between the heel and the glute. You can also always extend the leg long, and you can find your figure 4 with the left leg extended. Taking your variation, and then draw the chin in towards the chest. And once again, bringing that awareness to the sensation. Is there enough depth there? If not, increase. You want to create that sensation. We are not looking to find passiveness as such here. I mean, we are, but we're not. We're finding passiveness in the pose, but through sensation. And finding your awareness of present experience with acceptance. Accepting whatever you discover and staying curious. Once again, noticing sensations. If you notice there is a tingling feeling or an electrical feeling, maybe notice that you've gone too far and readjust. That is your body speaking to you. That is your nerves in the body saying it does not like the position that you are in right now. Taking 2 more rounds of breath where you are. When you've done your final round, there is no rush coming to bring the right foot down to meet the left. Maybe taking hold, giving yourself a little hug forward, bringing the hands around the front of the shins, drawing chin in towards the chest for a round of breath. And then slowly coming back, bring the hands back behind you, come to flex through the left foot, and then take the left ankle across the front of the right thigh. Once again, working with either extending the leg a little bit longer down the mat, or you're working towards bringing the glute closer towards the heel. So finding your edge, your depth. And once you've found your way there, come to settle. And take your experience inwards. And take the chin slightly towards the chest. Go inside your experience. Observe the places that you might want to grip and hold. Can you send the breath to these places? Can you cultivate space in these spaces? And being kind to yourself here, not passing judgment if each side is possibly different. One side can often be more open than the other. One side can often offer more sensation than the other. And bringing that awareness back to your experience. Is that sensation still there, or could you go a little bit deeper for the last few rounds of breath here? Breathing the energy to that space of sensation. And take in one full round of breath here. Beautiful, and then come to extend that left leg gently long. Maybe take a slight lean back, legs extended long, pointing and flexing the feet backwards and forwards. Or maybe you're finding some windshield wipers. Beautiful, we're coming to find butterfly pose next. So coming to bring the soles of the feet to meet. So we're creating a diamond shape with the legs. You can also always fold up the blanket that you might be sitting on. Come to find the edge of that blanket and find a little tilt of the pelvis. So you're coming to find that lip, that edge, and essentially that might help create a little bit of a tilt of the pelvis if you have some low back pain. Just helps to create a bit of space. So coming to set up in your butterfly, soles of the feet to meet, we're creating a diamond shape essentially with the legs. So you can take this so that the feet are further away from you, or you can bring the feet slightly closer towards you, finding what variation you desire. Once again, you can invite in blocks, you can place them underneath the thighs, you can even have a bolster close by. So coming to settle and set up here first. Find some length through the spine to begin with. And then slowly start to draw the chin in towards the chest. You can take a slight round through the spine, and we're going to slowly start to work our way forward ever so slightly. So once again, once you've got settled in here, just noticing any sensations that arise. If there are not any sensations, if you're not feeling it as much, remove props out of the way. Or maybe you include other props. You can always bring the bolster in. It can come on top of the thighs, and you can lay across the top. You can always take it vertically instead of horizontally. You can bend it in half and come to hug it and fold forward. And then we're looking to find a little bit of sensation here through the low back, through this rounding, through the spine, through the hips. But essentially this rounding through the spine is creating space through the low back. By the in between the spaces of the vertebrae. So in terms of opposite to Sphinx earlier, we was working with that compression. We're now working with the opposite. Allow the chin to come in towards the chest, the neck to hang heavy. You can always incorporate the hands if you're looking to find a little bit of stretch through the hands. You can come to bring the backs of the palms to face down. Allow the fingertips to come down, and then you can always create a bit of pressure onto them. So pushing into the wrists. If you're not feeling that sensation, maybe bring them to the inner of the diamonds, shaping the legs, and then the fingertips can face towards you, palms face outwards. And find a nice little gentle stretch here through the hands, through the backs of the hands, the wrists, maybe even a little bit into the forearms. And once again, looking at that sensation. Is that sensation just lingering, or is it still fully present for you? Finding a bit more depth, a bit more edge if you are requiring it. Bringing yourself deeper into the pose, slowly and safely. And taking another full round of breath where you are. Full inhale, full exhale. Very slowly and gently guiding your way back up. Take the hands back behind you. Extend the right leg long and then the left leg long. Maybe a slight lean back. Maybe you might even like to take a reverse tabletop here. And then coming back down. And then with both legs extended long, having your props close by, maybe a block or a bolster, slowly start to twist it over towards the left side. So legs are extended, the twist is coming from the spine. And then slowly start to lower onto your elbow. So we've got the legs still extended long and we're now onto the left elbow. Taking this right leg, we're going to take it across the top of the left for a slight twist. So you might come onto the hip ever so slightly. And this might be where you want to stay. Optionally, you can always bring the bolster underneath the head and you can come down to lay and extend the arm. Or you can come down to bring your head to a block as well. So you can either stay here, and if you're not noticing any real sensation here in this twist, you can then start to walk this bottom leg, so the left leg, up, back behind you, and maybe take hold of the left foot with the right hand. So you can either be up on that elbow in that twist, or maybe you are laying down. So for me, I find that when I'm up, I feel the twist more. It's coming from the left rib cage, side body into the hip. If I lay down, the sensation does change quite a lot. I lose a lot of sensation, but it might be different for you. If you're not catching hold of the foot, you can also use a strap. That's also another aspect. Or you can just walk the foot up till you feel some form of sensation. And then turn to twist more towards the left side. And drawing the chin in towards the chest. You can also support this floating leg with a prop as well. Always have a bolster or a block underneath it. That can always increase sensation as well, depending on your body anatomy. Things change for different people. And if you're not feeling it, and you've got hold of the foot, you can always take hold of the foot. If you're laying down, you can turn your gaze back behind you. Breathing into the body here. Noticing those sensations. Maybe waiting for that additional opening to occur before going a little bit deeper. Taking another round of breath where you are. If you've got hold of that foot, letting go of it very gently. If your gaze is to the opposite side, bringing your gaze back over towards the left. If you've laid down, bring that right hand down and push up to bring yourself back up. Unraveling the body, turning everything back to face the front of the mat. Maybe you're bending through the knees, giving yourself a little squeeze, a little hug, releasing through the low back. And then re-extending the legs long. Gently coming to twist over towards the left side this time. Place the right elbow down on towards the mat. Sorry, we're coming to twist over towards the right side this time. Right elbow to the mat. And then once you've found your twist, we're bringing this top leg, this left leg, and it's coming over the top of the right leg. So we're coming to find a twist here. And this might be, once again, where you stay. Maybe you've got that prop, that block or that bolster underneath that top leg. Maybe you're coming to lay down, or maybe you're staying up on the elbow. Maybe this sensation is enough for you to begin with. Noticing where the sensation is arising from. Noticing where you might be even gripping or supporting to stay up. If staying up is too much, maybe laying down. And then maybe you're walking that right leg, that bottom leg, up and taking hold of the ankle or the foot to find a deeper twist here. The gaze can still stay to the right. If you're looking for something deeper, you can take the gaze up, or you can take the gaze to the left side of the room, deepening that twist. If you want to go even deeper, you can always bring that left knee up ever so slightly. So that left knee, instead of being straight, the knee comes to bend. It can be supported by a prop, or if you're looking for that increase in sensation, it can just stay as is. And coming inside your experience again, noticing what there is to notice. Not attaching any judgment, just simply observing. Breathing here. Breathing into the twist. Taking one more round of breath where you are. Gently releasing the foot if you've taken hold of it, extending the leg long. Turning the gaze back to the right if you've taken the gaze to the other side. Bring the left hand down to the mat, and then push into the hand to guide yourself up. Turn everything to face the front of the mat. Taking any counteractive pose that might feel good. Maybe that's windshield wipers side to side. Maybe a reverse tabletop. Or maybe you're just bending the knees and bringing yourself to give yourself a little squeeze and a hug. And then when you feel ready, we're going to come to close the practice. So you can either come to lay down and find your final resting pose, your Shavasana. You can maybe come to find a seat. Just take in anything that feels good for you. Laying down is quite restorative after a Shavasana, after a yin class. So finding Shavasana is quite nice. I like to take a bolster under the back of the legs. Sometimes bring a pillow under the back of the head. And yeah, spend some time here coming to allow the body just to settle after all the movements and poses that we've just worked towards. So when you feel ready, coming to settle into your final resting pose, finding any props along the way that support you, taking the legs out nice and wide, Arms out nice and wide. Slight tuck of the chin under, creating length through the back of the neck. Coming to close down the eyes or take a soft gaze if it is there for you. And very gently coming to take your focus internally once more. Allowing the mind to be still and softening the fluctuations of the mind here. Maybe choosing to use that anchor of the word thinking, or your chosen word if the mind does wander. Or simply enjoy the ebbs and flows of the mind wandering, because they are always there. And there is nothing wrong with our minds being active. It's just sometimes they can be too active. So it's just reducing the overwhelm where we can and how we can. And coming to settle here. When it's time to close the practice, I will guide you out. Until then. Slowly start to bring your awareness back to the body, back to this space. If you are enjoying your Shavasana and your final resting time where you are, please feel free to stay here for another 3, 5, 10, half an hour, whatever many minutes according to you. If you're looking to close the practice now, taking a full round of breath, full conscious inhale and exhale. Very slowly and gently making your way onto a side, any side, rolling over, coming up to take a seat. And drawing the hands to heart center, finding some length through the spine, and taking a moment here in gratitude to yourself for your efforts, your energy, for carving out this space and time for you. It was a true honour to guide you here for your yin practice today. From my heart to yours, namaste. I wish you a beautiful day or evening, and I look forward to practicing with you again soon. Bye.